Yes, I'm a king. Go, I think I'm a king. Go,
By 2050, population of Africa will be 2.5 billion. It will be the biggest population on earth. Up to now, Africa has been underpopulated. Population of Africa now is about 1.5 billion. We have just overtaken India and China. But remember that that India is 1 million square miles of land. Africa is 12 million square miles. So you can fit India into Africa 12 times, and it will fit there. So therefore, Africa has got capacity to accommodate more population. So therefore, in terms of business planning, when you are here, you are in the right place at the right time. You need the natural resources. And Uganda has got a big spectrum, a wide spectrum of natural resources from which you can produce the goods or the services. Recently, there were problems in the world, war in Ukraine, corona, what? And many people in the other parts of the world had a lot of problems. Inflation went up. Inflation. Here, initially inflation went up a bit to 10%, but it is now 2%. It is one of the lowest in the world. Why? Because we have got everything here. We have got food, except those who don't want to eat our indigenous food. They are the ones who suffer. But like me, I have no problem at all. We have all the food, the biggest, greatest foods here. We have the raw materials for everything else, for textiles, for what? From agriculture. Like for instance, our people here were importing leather from China. Why import leather from China? We have everything here. So we have now put up our leather factories. No more importation of leather. Instead, we shall be exporting. The trees here grow very quickly. One time I visited the king of Sweden, and he told me that a pine tree in Sweden takes 120 years to mature in Sweden because it's cold. But here, a pine tree takes 7 years. It will be mature here. In the past, we gave a chance to our partners from outside, but they didn't take that chance. Like we have been buying bridge vehicles for a long time, the Range Rover, the what. Then we started buying some German vehicles, Mercedes-Benz and so on. Then we started buying Japanese vehicles. And all this time we were begging these friends to even assemble those vehicles here, but they wouldn't listen. They wouldn't listen. But now they have lost that opportunity. We're now going to make our own cars. And somebody started telling me about assembling. I said, no, too late. Don't tell me about assembling. I don't want to hear about assembling. I invited you, you didn't come, so now it's too late. We are going to make our own vehicles. People have been making money from our diseases. Our diseases, vaccines, our other diseases, malaria, what. So now we are now going to make this money ourselves so that we treat our diseases. So all these are huge opportunities. Initially, Africans here did not understand the importance of the private sector. The African leaders, they made a lot of mistakes in the 1960s and 70s because they did not understand clearly the anatomy of private sector. And I tried to talk to some of them, but they didn't get it clearly. Otherwise, Africa would be very far now. These countries like South Korea was much poorer than many of the African countries. But because our leaders made a mistake on the issue of the private sector, starting with Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, then our other leaders here, they confiscated private property. They were calling it nationalization. Many people outside don't know why Africa has lagged behind. This was one of the main reasons. You can imagine here in Uganda, we had our Indian people who had come from India and become Ugandan. And they were very active. You know, our Indian people are very active in business. But one of our leaders, Idi Amin, chased them and stole their property. Idi Amin. Why was he chasing these people? They were working for the country in an area where the African Ugandans were not active, because the African Ugandans were in crops, in livestock, in fishing, but not in business. They were not active in business. And these Indians were active there. And Idi Amin chased them. But when we came, we brought them back. I don't know whether there are some more here. Our returnee Indians, did they come? Who is here? Come and we see you, the returnee. Come and we see how he looks like. This is just a young boy. Maybe the parents, your parents are the ones who came back?
Yes, Your Excellency. My grandmother is from Bombo. My father is born in Bombo also. So
yes.
we came back after you called us.
Your father is still alive?
Yes, my father is still alive.
How old is he?
He's 75 now, Your Excellency.
What business were they doing before they were chased?
They were doing beer trading, Your Excellency.
They were doing
trading in Nakaseke areas.
Retail?
Retail.
Oh, okay. So all those were chased, but we brought them back because it was a big mistake. By 1980, the Africans started waking up. You know, many people in the world, you call sleeping naim in Arabic, sleeping. Naim. Many people in the world suffer from naim. Just asleep. Even here, Africans are fond of sleeping. But in 1980, they started waking up. This was about 20 years after independence. When they met in Lagos, Nigeria, they said, we have been naim, we have been asleep. There is no way Africa can develop without creating one market. That's when we started. We started in 1980, what was called the Lagos Plan of Action. Lagos is a city in Nigeria. So when you see like Latin America is richer that the United States, in terms of natural resources, if you look at the water, the amount of water in South America, fresh water, the forests, the minerals, much richer. But they are disorganized. They are disorganized. They are fragmented. The market of South America is fragmented. So you can't succeed. It's not easy to succeed in Latin America. And that's why you find people running away from Latin America, walking on foot, running away from poverty of South America to the prosperity of the United States. Because the United States were clever enough, those original people, George Washington and others, they were able to unite those colonies of Britain. The 13 colonies, they united them, and then, so you create a very good market for a wealth creator. If I create wealth, if I produce, I sell easily. I can sell to many people. That's why you find that these big countries are now overtaking the small countries of Europe. Now, China is richer, has got a bigger economy than UK, than France, than Germany, partly because of the size of the internal market. You are most welcome, and you Ugandans, you should not fear working with, either working with, or even if they come and invest alone, you don't have to get a local partner. It's not very crucial. If you get a reliable one, good. If you don't, come alone, because Uganda will still benefit. You know, I had some discussion with Field Marshal Mubarak, the late president of Egypt, when I visited him first time, and I mentioned to him, because in Egypt they had a policy that in order for me to invest in Egypt, I must get an Egyptian partner. I said, Field Marshal, what is this for? This is not correct. Why does he have to get a local partner? What for? Because, and I gave him the example, I said, Field Marshal, if I come and invest in Egypt, and my company earns $100 million in a year. Like, for instance, if I build a textile factory, first of all, I'll have to buy cotton. And cotton is local. So the $100 million that gross, part of it will go to buy cotton. Then I pay the workers who will be local. Then I cannot come with my own electricity. I will have to pay for the electricity from local. How about the water? Where would I get water from? I cannot come with water from what? Now, by the time I finish doing all that, out of the $100 million gross, you may find I remain only with 15% or 20%. 80% is now remaining here. And this is all local, this is all new money which was not there before, because there was no investment. There was zero earning. But now, our friend from out has got $20 million out of the 100 million, and me, I have got 80 million because of these flows of money into the different activities. So therefore, and that's why the economists, and you wonder why people say they're economists, then you wonder what sort of economists they are. That's why we make a distinction between GDP, gross domestic product, and the GNP. GNP is the wealth of Ugandans here or abroad. GDP is the wealth of everybody who has invested in Uganda, whether he's Ugandan or not. And if you look at China, the GDP now there is about 19 trillion. GNP is about 14 trillion. So you find that China is benefiting from more from investments from outside. Even the US, about 2 trillion or so is from outside. So therefore, you Ugandans, you should welcome FDI, foreign direct investment. Don't waste their time. And don't say in your confused language here, because in their language here, they say, factory yomuyindi. A corridor yomuyindi. In their language, when our Indian people build a factory here, they say, the Indian's factory in our local language. And I tell them, I said, there is no Indian factory here. All the factories here are Ugandan. Regardless of who builds it. And I tell them that you Ugandans, do we have these African Ugandans, black Ugandans, who are investors, or you are just rumor mongers? Who owns the factory here?
Your Excellency, thank you very much. My name is Joseph Nkandu. I am the Executive Director of Nucafe. We are coffee farmers who have, collectively worked around and we have invested. So in Namave, we have our centralized factory where we are processing coffee all the way up to, roasted coffee.
To roasted coffee?
Yes, sir.
Oh, mwabale. Katoli omulala. Omulala yani?
Your Excellency, Tulifena with Nucafe. Deus Nwagaba is my name.
You are different from
Tulifena with Joseph.
You are together?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Yes. Now, you see, these people have built a coffee factory in Namave for roasting coffee. Thank you so much. Mwabalo kuzukuka. I'm congratulating them from Naim, from sleeping. Now, if you had built that factory in India, we would not say Ugandan factory in India, we would say Indian factory in India, regardless of who you are. So, because if you went and built that factory in India, it would be part of the Indian GDP, not part of Uganda's GDP. So when these people come and build factories here, these are part of Uganda's GDP, gross domestic product. Thank you so much. I wish you good luck.
I'm a kingo, yes, I'm a kingo. I'm a kingo.